Hello dear listeners and welcome to Another Life History channel. Tonight we are winding back time. I am taking you back 4,500 years to the scorching sands of Giza. Close your eyes and imagine. Massive stone blocks stand before you, reaching toward the sky. Each one is as heavy as a full-grown elephant, and you, yes, you, have to move them under the blistering 50-degree heat, while hearing the crack of a ruthless whip behind you. How will you drag these massive 2.5-ton blocks across the sand? I want you to feel that weight, that desperation. But before we delve deeper into this arduous journey, I have a small request from you. To support our stories and the effort we put in, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share in the comments where in the world you're listening from right now. It would truly make us happy. If you are ready, dim the lights, find a comfortable place, take a deep breath. We're beginning to lift history's heaviest burden. Imagine yourself right now, transported back through time to the year 2550 BC. You open your eyes on the Giza Plateau. The air is already hot, even before sunrise. Hollywood films might have painted you as a whipped slave, chains around your ankles. But the reality is far more complex, far more exhausting, far more brutal in ways those movies never showed. You are not a slave. Technically, you are a paid worker, a contracted labourer for the God King himself. But let's be honest about your salary. It's not gold coins, not silver, not anything you could save or trade for a better life. Your payment is beer, thick, gritty, warm beer that tastes like liquid bread. And your retirement plan? Well, that's probably dying around age 35 from a completely destroyed spine, a herniated disc, or simply collapsing from exhaustion under the brutal Egyptian sun. So go ahead, settle into your bed, take a deep breath, close your eyes if you want, and let's experience together what it truly feels like to be a pyramid builder, to haul massive stones for a living god, to wake up every single day knowing that today might be the day a 2-ton block crushes you into the sand. Your day begins in darkness, long before the first light touches the horizon, because working after sunrise, that would be like volunteering to run a marathon inside an oven. The temperature will climb to unbearable levels, so you must begin while the world is still cool, still merciful. You roll off your sleeping mat, which is basically a thin piece of woven reed laid over hard-packed dirt. No memory foam here, no soft pillows, just you and the unforgiving ground. Your back already aches from yesterday's work, from last week's work, from every single day you've spent hauling stones up that endless ramp. Your shoulders throb, your knees crack when you stand, and you're not even 30 years old yet. Breakfast is waiting, and by modern standards, it's an absolute disaster, a historical disappointment. There's a loaf of bread sitting in a clay bowl, but this bread is not like anything you've ever eaten in your comfortable modern life. This bread contains almost as much sand as it does flour, because in Egypt, sand is absolutely everywhere. In the grain stores, in the grinding stones, in the air you breathe, in every single thing you eat. You take a bite, and you can feel the grit between your teeth, scraping, grinding, slowly wearing down your enamel. Over the months, over the years, your teeth will become flat, smooth, ground down like stones in a river. Archaeologists will find your skull thousands of years from now, and they'll immediately know you were a worker, because your teeth tell the story of sand, of bread, of a life spent chewing through grit. What are you drinking with this sandy bread? Water? No, absolutely not. Drinking water from the Nile River is a death sentence. It's filled with parasites, bacteria, things that will make you violently ill, things that will kill you slowly, painfully. So instead, you drink beer. But don't get excited. This is not the cold, crisp, refreshing beer you might enjoy on a hot summer day in your modern life. This is what the Egyptians call liquid bread, a thick, warm, porridge-like substance that barely qualifies as a beverage. It's nutritious. Yes, it keeps you alive. It gives you calories, vitamins, but it's lukewarm, gritty, and tastes like fermented grain mush, because that's exactly what it is. You drink litres of this stuff every single day because it's safer than water, because it's part of your payment, because without it, you would simply die. Now you're walking to the work site and the construction zone, the place where the pyramid is slowly, stone by stone, rising from the desert floor. The sun is just beginning to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink. It would be beautiful if you had any energy left to appreciate beauty, if beauty mattered when you knew what was waiting for you. You can already see the pyramid in the distance, massive, imposing, a monument to a god who walks among men. Pharaoh Khufu, your employer, your king, your deity. Every stone you place is an act of worship, an act of cosmic importance, or at least that's what they tell you. You arrive at your station, your work zone, and there it is waiting for you like an enemy, a massive limestone block. This stone weighs approximately 2.5 tons, which is 5,000 pounds, which is more than 2 modern cars. And your job, your simple, straightforward, absolutely back-breaking job, is to move it. You and your team will drag this block, push it, wrestle it onto a wooden sled, and then haul it up a ramp, inch by agonizing inch. There are no wheels here, no pulleys, no cranes, no machinery of any kind, just wooden sleds, ramps made of mud brick, wetted sand to reduce friction, and human muscle. Your muscle that's already screaming at you to stop, to rest, to run away. But you can't run away, can you? Where would you go? Into the desert, death by thirst or wild animals, back to your village, disgrace, punishment. No, you're here, you're committed. You're part of something larger than yourself, whether you like it or not. The foreman is shouting now, his voice cutting through the early morning air like a blade. He's telling you to get into position, to grab the ropes, to prepare yourself. You and about 20 other men gather around this massive stone. Some of them are your friends, your neighbours from the workers' village. Some of them are strangers, faces you've seen but never really known. It doesn't matter. Right now, you're all the same. You're all bodies, muscles, tools in the service of something greater, something divine. The ropes are thick, made from papyrus fibres twisted together, rough against your palms. You've developed calluses over the months, thick layers of hardened skin, but even those calluses crack, bleed, hurt. You wrap the rope around your hands, position yourself with the others, and wait for the signal. The foreman raises his arm. You take a breath. He drops his arm. You pull. Nothing happens. The stone doesn't move. You pull harder. Your feet digging into the sand. Your back straining. Your arms burning. Still nothing. The foreman is yelling, motivating, threatening. Pull harder. Put your backs into it. Do you want to shame yourselves before the god? You pull again. Everyone pulls together, synchronized, desperate. The stone shifts, just slightly, just an inch, then another inch. Then it's moving, sliding across the wetted sand, making a grinding sound that you can feel in your bones. This is your life now, pulling, resting, pulling again. The stone moves slowly up the ramp, and every foot of progress feels like a victory, a small triumph over gravity, over physics, over your own exhausted body. Your muscles are screaming, your lungs are burning, sweat is pouring down your face, stinging your eyes, soaking your simple linen kilt. The sun is higher now, hotter, and there's no shade anywhere, no relief, no escape. Someone collapses. One of the men on your team. He just drops, his hands releasing the rope, his body crumpling to the ground. The foreman rushes over, checking if he's alive or dead. Alive. Thank the gods. Just exhausted, dehydrated, overcome by heat. They drag him to the side, into whatever small shadow they can find, and pour some water over his head. Someone else takes his place on the rope. The work doesn't stop. It never stops. The pyramid must be built. The God King demands it. The universe depends on it. You pull for hours. The stone inches up the ramp. Your hands are bleeding now, even through the calluses. Your back feels like it might snap at any moment. You think about your wife, about your children back in the village. You think about the beer you'll drink tonight, the warm, gritty beer that tastes terrible but feels like salvation. You think about lying down, about sleep, about rest. But those thoughts are distant, like dreams. Right now, there's only the stone, the rope, the ramp, the endless pulling. Midday arrives, the worst time, the hottest time. The foreman finally calls for a break. You collapse where you stand, too tired to even walk to the shade. Someone brings around water, the precious water they use sparingly, and you drink it gratefully, not caring that it's warm, not caring about anything except the relief. You lie in the sand, staring up at the impossibly blue sky, and you wonder, not for the first time, how many more days you can do this, how many more stones, how many more years before your body simply gives up. The break is short, too short. The foreman is shouting again, get up, back to work. The pyramid won't build itself. You struggle to your feet, your legs shake, your vision swims. You grab the rope again, take your position, and when the signal comes, you pull. The stone moves, you pull again. It moves again. This is your existence. Pull and move, until the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, until the foreman finally, mercifully, calls an end to the day's work. You've moved one stone today, one single stone. Tomorrow, you'll move another. The day after that, another. There are thousands of stones left to place, thousands of days of work stretching ahead of you. The pyramid grows slowly, almost imperceptibly, but it grows, and you're part of it, whether that brings you pride or despair. You're part of something that will last forever. The workers' village is not what most people imagine when they think of ancient Egypt. There are no grand palaces here, no golden statues, no luxurious gardens with fountains and pools. This is a place built for function, not beauty. Row after row of mud brick houses, all identical, all pressed together like boxes in a warehouse. Your house is one of these boxes, a small rectangular structure with thick walls and a flat roof. The walls keep out some of the heat during the day, trap some warmth at night. It's not comfortable, but it's shelter, and after a day of hauling stones, even this humble space feels like paradise. You push aside the reed mat that serves as your door and step inside. The interior is dim, lit only by the fading sunlight that filters through the small window openings near the ceiling. Your wife is here, preparing the evening meal over a small fire pit. She looks up when you enter, and you can see the concern in her eyes. You must look terrible, covered in dust and sweat and dried blood from your torn hands. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. She's seen you like this every evening for months, for years. This is normal now. Your children are here too, 3 of them, ranging from a toddler to a boy of about 10. The oldest one will probably join you at the pyramid site in a few years, once he's strong enough to pull a rope, to carry water, to do whatever small tasks they can assign to a child. You don't want that for him. You want him to have an easier life. But you also know that's not realistic. This is the world you live in. Everyone works. Everyone contributes. Even children. Your wife hands you a bowl of food. It's a simple meal, the same meal you eat almost every night. A thick stew made from lentils, onions, garlic, whatever vegetables were available. Some bread on the side. That same gritty bread with sand mixed into the flour. It's not delicious. It's barely appetizing. But it's food. It's calories. It's fuel for tomorrow's work. You eat slowly. Too tired to rush. Too exhausted to care much about taste. After dinner, where you sit outside for a while, letting the evening air cool your overheated skin, some of your neighbours are out too, sitting in front of their houses, talking in low voices. You join them, not because you have energy for conversation, but because this is what you do. This is the social ritual that makes life bearable. Someone passes around a jug of beer, that thick, warm beer that's become your daily companion. You take a long drink, feeling the liquid settle in your stomach, slightly alcoholic, slightly numbing. The conversation drifts to the usual topics. How many stones were moved today? Which foreman is the cruelest? Who got injured? Who died? Death is common enough that it's barely remarkable anymore. Just another fact of life. Another occupational hazard. Last week, a man was crushed when a stone slipped from its sled. Yesterday, someone fell from the upper levels of the pyramid and broke his neck. Today, 3 men collapsed from heat exhaustion. These stories don't shock anyone anymore. They're just data points, reminders that this job can kill you at any moment. Someone mentions the pharaoh. Apparently, he visited the site yesterday, surrounded by his guards and advisors, inspecting the progress. You weren't close enough to see him. You were on a different section of the pyramid, but others saw him. They describe his golden collar, his elaborate headdress, the way everyone prostrated themselves when he passed. He's not just a king. They remind each other. He's a living god, the son of Ra, the bridge between the mortal world and the divine. The pyramid you're building, it's not just his tomb, it's his stairway to the stars, his vehicle for joining the other gods in the afterlife. This is supposed to motivate you, this cosmic significance. You're not just moving stones, you're maintaining Ma'at, the divine order that keeps chaos at bay. If the pyramid isn't completed, If the pharaoh can't ascend properly, the universe itself might unravel. The sun might not rise, or the Nile might not flood. Everything could fall apart. So your suffering, your pain, your exhausted body, it all serves a higher purpose. At least, that's what they tell you. That's what the priests preach. That's what you're supposed to believe. Do you believe it? Honestly, you're too tired to think about it deeply. Belief or disbelief, it doesn't change anything. The stone still needs to be moved. The rope still needs to be pulled. Your body still hurts just the same, regardless of cosmic significance. You play a few rounds of Senate, winning one game and losing two. Your mind isn't really in it. Your thoughts keep drifting to your aching muscles, to tomorrow's stone, to the endless repetition of your days. Eventually, you excuse yourself and head back inside. Your wife and children are already asleep, curled up together on the sleeping mats. You lower yourself down beside them, trying not to groan too loudly from the pain in your back. The mat is thin. The ground beneath it is hard, but you're so exhausted that it doesn't matter. Sleep comes quickly, heavily, pulling you down into darkness. But even in sleep, there's no real rest. You dream about stones, about ramps, about ropes cutting into your hands. You dream about the foreman's voice shouting at you. You dream about the stones slipping, crushing you, burying you in the sand. You wake up multiple times during the night, your body protesting every position, unable to find comfort. Each time you wake, you hear the sounds of the village around you, other men coughing, children crying, the occasional dog barking in the distance. Everyone is here together, suffering together, surviving together. Before dawn, before the first light touches the sky, you're awake again. Your body is stiff, sore, every joint complaining. You sit up slowly, carefully, and immediately your back reminds you of yesterday's labour. Your hands are stiff too. The cuts from the rope are scabbed over but still painful. You flex your fingers, trying to work some mobility back into them. This is your morning routine now, assessing the damage, cataloguing the pain, preparing yourself mentally for another day of the same. Your wife wakes when you do. She always does. She doesn't say much, just hands you some leftover bread and a cup of that thick beer. Breakfast of champions, you think sarcastically, but you eat it anyway, because you need the calories, need the energy. The bread is stale now, even harder than it was yesterday. The sand in it even more noticeable. You wash it down with the beer, grimacing at the taste but grateful for the liquid. Outside, the village is waking up. You can hear other workers stirring, preparing for their day. The same routine repeated in every house, every family. You step outside into the pre-dawn darkness. The air still cool, but carrying the promise of brutal heat to come. Other men are emerging from their houses too, all of you moving like old men even though most of you are young. Your bodies aged beyond your years by this relentless work. You walk together toward the pyramid site, a procession of tired, broken bodies shuffling through the sand. Nobody talks much this early. Everyone is conserving their energy, lost in their own thoughts. You think about the stone you'll move today, whether it will be heavier or lighter than yesterday's, whether anyone will get hurt, whether you'll make it through another day without injury. These are the thoughts that occupy your mind now. Simple survival calculations. Nothing profound or philosophical, just the basic mathematics of staying alive. The pyramid looms ahead, massive even in the dim light, its shape cutting a sharp silhouette against the gradually brightening sky. It's already so tall, so imposing, and yet it's nowhere near finished. Years of work stretch ahead, maybe decades. More stones than you can count, more days of pain than you can imagine. Some of the older workers say they've been here for 10 years already, working on this pyramid since it was just a foundation. 10 years of pulling stones, and they're still not done, still nowhere close to done. You reach the site just as the sun begins to rise, that brief window of time when the light is golden and the air is still bearable. The foremen are already there, organising the work crews, assigning sections, preparing for the day. You find your crew, the same men you worked with yesterday, the same men you'll work with tomorrow. There's a grim camaraderie among you, a shared understanding that needs no words. You're all in this together, all suffering the same fate, all trapped in this cycle of work and pain. Today's stone is waiting, another massive limestone block, freshly quarried and dragged to this staging area. It looks exactly like yesterday's stone, like every stone you've ever moved. The foreman briefs you on the plan, which section of the pyramid this one is destined for, which ramp you'll use, how many men will be needed. It's the same plan as always, the same strategy, the same back-breaking process. You take your position on the rope, wrap it around your hands despite the pain, and wait for the signal. The stone shifts, finally, grudgingly. It moves an inch, then another, then it's sliding across the sand with that grinding sound that reverberates through your skeleton. This sound has become the soundtrack of your life. This deep, scraping groan of stone against stone sand, stone against wood. You hear it in your sleep. You hear it when you close your eyes. It's etched into your memory like scars on your hands. The process is methodical, almost ritualistic. Pull for a count of 10, rest for a count of 5, pull again. The foreman calls out the rhythm, keeping everyone synchronized, making sure no one pulls out of turn and causes the stone to shift sideways or tip over. A tipping stone is a death sentence. It can crush half a dozen men before anyone has time to react. So you follow the rhythm, you stay in sync, you trust your fellow workers to pull when you pull, to hold when you hold. The sun climbs higher, the heat intensifies. Sweat pours off you in rivers, soaking your linen kilt, dripping into the sand. You can taste salt on your lips, feel the grit of sand mixing with sweat on your skin. Your vision starts to blur from the exertion, from the dehydration, from the relentless sun beating down on your head. Someone brings water around periodically, a small cup that's never enough, but you drink it gratefully, desperately, knowing it might be hours before the next water break. Hours pass, or maybe it's just minutes. Time loses meaning when every moment is filled with pain. The stone is moving up the ramp now, that long incline that rises toward the pyramid's growing height. Every foot of elevation makes it harder, makes the stone feel heavier, makes your muscles scream louder. The angle of the ramp means you're not just pulling horizontally anymore, you're pulling up, fighting gravity directly. And gravity is a patient, relentless enemy that never tires, never weakens, never gives up. Your hands are bleeding again. fresh blood mixing with old scabs, the rope cutting through your calluses like they're nothing. You can feel the wetness, the stickiness, but you can't stop to tend to it. The work doesn't stop for blood. The pyramid doesn't care about your pain. The God King demands progress, and progress requires sacrifice, requires your blood, your sweat, your slowly deteriorating body. Someone behind you stumbles, loses his grip on the rope. The sudden shift in tension causes the stone to lurch, to slide back a few inches, and everyone has to compensate quickly, pull harder, stop the backward momentum before it becomes a full collapse. The foreman is screaming now, cursing the man who stumbled, threatening him with reduced rations, with extra work assignments, with punishment. The man scrambles back to his position, grabs the rope again, and the group resumes pulling. Crisis averted, disaster postponed. But the near miss leaves everyone shaken, more careful, more afraid. Fear is a good motivator. You've learned. Fear of injury, fear of death, fear of disappointing the pharaoh, fear of cosmic consequences. The priests talk about Mayat constantly, about order versus chaos, about how every stone placed is a victory against the forces of disorder that threaten the universe. You're not sure how much you believe this anymore, whether moving a stone really affects the cosmic balance. But you believe in the fear. You believe in the consequences of failure. That belief is enough to keep you pulling. Midday arrives with its crushing heat, that oppressive weight of sun and air that makes every breath feel like swallowing fire. The foreman calls for a break, and you collapse immediately, too exhausted to even think about finding shade. You lie in the sand, chest heaving, heart pounding, feeling like your body might simply shut down from the strain. Other workers are collapsed around you, all of you reduced to gasping, sweating, barely functional organisms. Water comes around, and you drink greedily, not caring about rationing, not thinking about later. Right now is all that matters. This moment of relief, this brief respite from pulling. The water is warm, tastes faintly of clay from the storage jars, but it's liquid, it's life, and you drain the cup in seconds. You want more, desperately want more, but the water carrier moves on, distributing the precious liquid to others who need it just as badly. You close your eyes for a moment, just a moment of darkness, of not seeing the pyramid, the ramp, the stone. But even with your eyes closed, you can still see them. They're burned into your retinas, permanent images that follow you everywhere. The pyramid is in your dreams, in your waking thoughts, in every moment of your existence. It dominates everything, physically and mentally, a massive presence that cannot be escaped or ignored. The afternoon is somehow worse than the morning, even though you didn't think that was possible. The heat has reached its peak, the sun directly overhead, no shadows anywhere, no relief from the brutal assault of light and temperature. The sand beneath your feet is scorching. You can feel it through your sandals, baking your soles. The stone seems heavier now too, or maybe you're just weaker, your muscles depleted, your energy reserves completely exhausted. You pull, the stone moves. You pull again, it moves again. This mechanical repetition has become your entire world. There's nothing else. No thoughts beyond the next pull, the next inch of progress. Your mind has entered a kind of survival mode, shutting down everything except the most basic functions, conserving what little energy remains. You're not really thinking anymore. You're just existing, just enduring, just surviving moment to moment. The man next to you is singing, quietly, under his breath. It's a working song, one of those rhythmic chants that help keep everyone synchronized, helps pass the time, helps maintain sanity. Others join in, and soon half the crew is singing, a low, steady rhythm that matches the pulling. The words are simple, repetitive, something about the Nile flooding, about abundant harvests, about better days ahead. You're not sure you believe in better days anymore, but you sing anyway, because the alternative is silence, and silence leaves too much room for despair. The stone reaches a particularly steep section of the ramp, and suddenly the pulling becomes even harder, almost impossible. The foreman is shouting for more men, and additional workers rush over to help, grabbing the rope behind you, adding their strength to yours. Now there are 30 men on this rope, maybe 40, all pulling together, all straining, all pouring every ounce of strength into moving this one massive stone. The combined effort is barely enough. The stone moves so slowly now that you can barely perceive the progress. But it does move, inch by agonizing inch. Your vision is starting to tunnel, black spots appearing at the edges, your body warning you that you're pushing too hard, that you're approaching your limits. You've seen men pass out from this, drop unconscious right where they stand, and you don't want to be one of them. Don't want to be the weak link, the one who fails. So you dig deeper, find reserves of strength you didn't know you had. Or maybe it's just stubbornness and just refusal to give up. Either way, you keep pulling. The stone finally crests this steep section, reaches a flatter part of the ramp, and suddenly the pulling becomes marginally easier. Not easy, never easy, but less impossible than it was a moment ago. The foreman dismisses the extra workers, sending them back to their own stones, their own crews. You're back to your core team now, just the original 20 men, and you continue the slow march upward, foot by foot, stone by stone. You think about the pyramid's final height, about how many more levels need to be added, how many more stones need to be placed. The numbers are staggering, incomprehensible really. Thousands upon thousands of stones, each one requiring this same brutal process, this same expenditure of human suffering. How long will it take to finish? 5 years? 10 years? 20 years? Will you even live long enough to see it completed? Most workers don't. You know this. The mortality rate is high. Bodies wear out. Accidents happen. Disease strikes. Very few men who start building a pyramid actually see its completion. But that's not something you can think about too deeply. Not if you want to maintain your sanity. You have to focus on today, on this stone, on this moment. Tomorrow is unknowable. Next year is fantasy. All you have is right now. This rope in your hands, this burning in your muscles, this endless repetition of pull and rest and pull again. The sun is finally beginning its descent, the angle of a light changing, the heat starting to diminish ever so slightly. You can sense the end of the workday approaching, still hours away but at least approaching. And that knowledge gives you something to hold on to, a finish line however distant. The stone is nearly in position now, just a few more feet to go, and then this particular nightmare will be over. At least until tomorrow when a new stone awaits. The foreman inspects the work, walking around the newly placed stone, checking it from all angles. He seems satisfied, or at least not actively angry, which is the best you can hope for. He marks something on his papyrus scroll, recording the day's progress, documenting which crew moved which stone. This documentation is important apparently. The pharaoh wants records of everything, wants to know exactly how his monument is being built, who's responsible for each piece. You don't care about records, about documentation, about any of that administrative nonsense. You just want to sit down, to rest, to stop feeling this all-encompassing pain. But the workday isn't over yet. There are still tasks to complete, ropes to coil, sleds to move into position for tomorrow, tools to organise. The foreman assigns these clean-up duties, and you comply mechanically, your body moving on autopilot while your mind drifts elsewhere. Finally, mercifully, the sun touches the horizon and the foreman calls an end to the day. The signal ripples through the workforce, hundreds of men stopping their tasks, dropping their tools, beginning the slow shuffle back to the workers' village. You join this exodus, this daily migration of exhausted bodies, all of you moving like wounded soldiers retreating from a battlefield. In a way, that's exactly what you are. Soldiers in a war against stone and gravity and time itself. The walk back feels even longer than it did yesterday, if that's possible. Every step is an effort. Every movement sends new waves of pain through your abused body. Your back is the worst, a constant throbbing ache that radiates from your lower spine up through your shoulders. You know what this means. You've seen it in older workers, the way their spines curve unnaturally, the way they walk hunched over, permanently deformed by years of heavy labour. That's your future. Looking at them is like looking into a mirror that shows you 20 years from now, assuming you live that long. The workers' village appears ahead, and the sight of it brings a small measure of relief. Home, such as it is, shelter and food and rest. Your wife will be there, your children, your small corner of the world where you can pretend for a few hours that life is bearable. You push through the village entrance, past the guards who stand watch, past the communal bread ovens where women are preparing the evening meal, past the small shrine where some workers stop to pray or make offerings. Your house is exactly as you left it this morning. Nothing has changed. Nothing ever changes. You push aside the reed door covering and step into the dim interior. Your wife is there, as always, preparing food over the fire pit. She looks up, sees your bloody hands, the way you're moving like a man 3 times your age, and her face shows concern, sadness, resignation. This is your life together, this nightly ritual of you coming home broken and her trying to patch you back together enough for the next day. She brings you water first, clean water from the daily ration, and you drink it slowly, savouring it. Then she tends to your hands, cleaning the cuts with water, applying a paste made from honey and herbs that's supposed to help with healing and prevent infection. The paste stings, but you don't complain. You just sit there quietly while she works, grateful for her care, grateful that someone in this world treats you with gentleness. Your children are playing in the corner, oblivious to your suffering, absorbed in some game with sticks and stones. The oldest one looks up at you, and for a moment you see concern in his eyes too, the beginning awareness that what awaits him in a few years is not pleasant. You force a smile, not wanting to scare him, not wanting him to dread his future any more than necessary. He'll find out soon enough how hard this life is. No need to burden him with that knowledge prematurely. Dinner is ready, the same lentil stew you eat most nights, the same bread with sand mixed in. You eat because you need to, because your body requires fuel, but you don't taste it, don't really enjoy it. Food has become purely functional, just calories to burn, just fuel for the machine that is your body. Your wife tells you about her day, about the children, about village gossip, and you listen with half your attention, the other half still back at the pyramid, still feeling that rope in your hands, still hearing that grinding sound of stone on stone. After dinner, you step outside for some air. The evening's cool now, pleasant even, the desert temperature dropping rapidly once the sun sets. Other men are out too, sitting in small groups, passing around jugs of beer, talking in low voices. You join them, accepting the beer when it comes your way. Drinking deeply, the alcohol helps, dulls the pain slightly, makes everything feel a bit more distant, a bit more bearable. The conversation tonight is darker than usual, more philosophical, more questioning. Someone asks what happens to us when we die, whether workers like us get to go to the afterlife or if that's only for nobles and kings. It's a good question, one without clear answers. The priests say that everyone can reach the afterlife if they live a good life, if they follow Ma'at, if they serve the gods faithfully, but everyone knows that the elaborate tombs, the mummification, the grave goods, those are for the wealthy. Common workers like you get a simple burial in the sand, no coffin, no preservation, no treasures for the journey. Someone else mentions that he heard a priest saying that building the pyramid earns you favour with the gods, that your service to the pharaoh counts as religious devotion. Maybe that's your ticket to the afterlife. Your years of suffering transformed into spiritual currency. You want to believe this, want to think that all this pain serves some higher purpose, but doubt nags at you. If the gods truly valued your labour, wouldn't they make it less agonising, less destructive to your body? The conversation shifts to more immediate concerns. Someone's wife is pregnant again, despite already having 5 children. More mouths to feed, more bodies crammed into an already small house. Someone else's father died last week, collapsed at the pyramid site and never got up. They buried him in the workers' cemetery, a patch of sand marked with simple stones, no ceremony, no fanfare, life and death happening simultaneously, constantly, the cycle never stopping. You think about your own father, who worked on a different pyramid a generation ago. He died when you were young, you barely remember him. Just vague impressions of a tired man with rough hands and a bent back. Your mother told you he was proud of his work, proud to serve the pharaoh, proud to be part of something eternal. You wonder if that was true or if she just told you that to make his death seem meaningful. Either way, you're following in his footsteps now, destroying your body the same way he destroyed his, building monuments for god kings who will never know your name. The beer is having its effect now, making everything softer around the edges, making the pain recede into background noise. The stars are incredibly bright tonight, the Milky Way stretching across the sky like a river of light. Someone points out various constellations, telling the stories associated with them, myths about gods and heroes and cosmic battles. These stories are comforting somehow, reminding you that you're part of something larger, that human struggles have always existed, that suffering is not unique to your generation. A young worker, someone new to the pyramid site, asks how long people typically last at this work. The question hangs in the air, heavy and ominous. The older workers exchange glances, nobody wanting to answer honestly. Finally, someone says that it varies, that some men work for decades while others last only months. What he doesn't say, what everyone knows, is that the men who last decades are rare exceptions, that most workers are broken within a few years, their bodies used up and discarded. You think about quitting, about walking away from all this, about taking your family and disappearing into the desert or heading north to the delta, or just anywhere that isn't here. But where would you go? What would you do? You have no other skills, no other trade, no connections outside this pyramid project. This is your life, for better or worse, mostly worse. The only way out is death or disability, and neither option is appealing. The conversation continues, meandering through various topics, complaints about foremen, speculation about when the pyramid will be finished, crude jokes that aren't really funny but make everyone laugh anyway, because laughter is one of the few pleasures available. You contribute occasionally. A comment here, a story there, but mostly you just listen, letting the voices wash over you, finding comfort in the simple fact that you're not alone in this, that others understand what you're going through. Eventually, people start drifting back to their houses, the groups breaking up as exhaustion overtakes socializing. You finish your beer, stand up slowly, testing your legs to make sure they'll still support your weight. Everything hurts, everything always hurts, but you can still move, still function. That's what passes for victory these days. Being able to stand up, to walk, and to survive another day. You return to your house, stepping carefully over sleeping children to reach your sleeping mat. Your wife is already asleep, exhausted from her own day of cooking, cleaning, taking care of the household. You lower yourself down beside her, trying not to disturb her, though your groans of pain probably wake her anyway. She shifts slightly, moves closer to you, her presence a small comfort in the darkness. Sleep comes eventually, though it's not restful, not peaceful. Your dreams are filled with stones and ropes and the foreman's voice shouting commands. You dream about the stones slipping, about being crushed underneath it, about your bones breaking, your blood soaking into the sand. These nightmares are so common now that they barely frighten you anymore. They're just another part of existence and another thing to endure. You wake multiple times during the night, your body unable to find a comfortable position, every joint stiff and aching. Each time you wake, you hear the sounds of the village around you, other men coughing, children whimpering in their sleep, dogs barking at shadows. The village never truly sleeps. There's always noise, always movement, thousands of people crammed into this small space, all of them dealing with their own pain, their own struggles. The night passes slowly, each hour feeling like 3 at a moving at a crawl. When you're desperate for rest but unable to truly achieve it, you count the hours by the position of the stars visible through the small window openings, watching them track across the sky, marking the slow progression toward dawn. Part of you dreads the sunrise, dreads what it represents, another day of suffering. But another part of you just wants the night to be over, wants to stop pretending to rest and get on with the inevitable. Finally, the sky begins to lighten, that gradual transition from black to dark blue to pale grey. Dawn is coming, ready or not. You sit up, your back screaming in protest, every vertebra feeling like it's grinding against the next. Your hands are stiff again. The cuts from yesterday's ropework are scabbed over but still painful. You flex your fingers experimentally, working some mobility back into them, preparing them for another day of gripping that cursed rope. Your wife wakes when you do. She always does. Her sleep probably just as fitful as yours. She doesn't say anything, just begins preparing the morning meal. The same routine repeated every single day. Bread and beer, the breakfast of pyramid builders, a meal that's supposed to sustain you through hours of brutal labour. You eat mechanically, chewing the gritty bread, washing it down with thick beer, not tasting anything, just consuming fuel. Outside, the village is waking up. The same sounds as yesterday, as every day. Men emerging from their houses, stretching stiff muscles, preparing for work. Children crying. Women talking in low voices. The distant sound of someone hammering metal, probably repairing tools for the day's work. It's all so familiar, so predictable, so monotonous. Every day exactly like the one before. An endless cycle of work and pain and minimal rest. You step outside into the pre-dawn coolness, joining the stream of workers heading toward the pyramid site, and the procession is silent this morning. Everyone too tired or too resigned to bother with conversation. You just walk, placing one foot in front of the other, moving forward because that's what you do. That's all you can do. The pyramid looms ahead, already visible in the growing light. That massive structure that dominates the landscape and dominates your life, dominates everything. As you walk, you notice how your body moves differently now than it did a year ago, 2 years ago. You're stiffer, slower, your gait more careful, more pained. You're aging rapidly, your body breaking down under the constant abuse. You're still young by any reasonable measure, but your body is old, worn out, used up. The other workers are the same, all of you moving like elderly men, all of you decades older than your actual years. The worksite comes into view, and with it comes the familiar dread. That sick feeling in your stomach that says today will be just as bad as yesterday. Maybe worse, the foremen are already there, organising the crews, preparing the day's work. You find your crew, take your place among them, and wait for your assignment. Another stone needs moving. It always does. There are always more stones, an endless supply of them, each one requiring the same back-breaking effort. Today's stone looks particularly massive, or maybe you're just weaker than usual, more depleted. The foreman explains the plan, which ramp to use, how many men on the rope, what angle to approach from. You listen with half your attention. The details don't really matter. The process is always the same. Pull the stone, move it up the ramp, place it on the pyramid, simple in concept, agonizing in execution. The stone finally shifts, grudgingly giving ground, moving inch by painful inch. You settle into the rhythm, pull and rest, the same pattern you've performed thousands of times before. Your mind goes blank, entering that survival mode where thought ceases and only action remains. Pull, rest, pull, rest. The world narrows to just this this rope, this stone. Nothing else exists. Nothing else matters. Hours blur together. The sun climbing higher. The heat intensifying. Sweat pours off you, soaking into the sand, evaporating almost instantly in the dry desert air. Your mouth is parched. Your lips cracked. Your throat raw. Water breaks come periodically, but never frequently. Never with enough water. You're perpetually thirsty, perpetually overheated, perpetually on the edge of collapse. The man beside you starts coughing, deep racking coughs that shake his whole body. He doesn't stop pulling though, can't afford to stop. The foreman would punish any weakness, so he pulls and coughs simultaneously, blood flecking his lips, his face contorted in pain and effort. You've seen this before, men developing lung problems from breathing stone dust and sand for months or years. There is no cure, no treatment. They just get worse until eventually they can't work anymore, and then they die. The stone is halfway up the ramp now, that long grinding climb toward the pyramid's current height. This is always the hardest part, the steepest incline, where gravity fights you most viciously. The rope feels like it's cutting through your hands completely, like it's slicing down to bone. You can't look at your hands, don't want to see how bad the damage is. You just keep pulling, keep moving, keep existing in this bubble of pain. A priest walks by you, one of the pyramid overseers, dressed in clean white linen that's somehow spotless despite all the dust. He's inspecting the work, making notes on papyrus, ensuring everything meets the pharaoh's standards. He doesn't look at you, doesn't acknowledge your existence. You're just part of the machinery to him, as replaceable as the ropes you're pulling. The contrast between his clean comfort and your filthy suffering is stark. Almost comical if you had any energy left for dark humour. The priest stops to speak with the foreman, pointing at something on the pyramid's face and when discussing angles or measurements or some technical detail. Meanwhile, you and your crew continue pulling, continue suffering, while they have their leisurely conversation about precision and geometry. The disconnect is profound. They're thinking about abstract concepts while you're thinking about whether your back will survive another hour, whether your hands can grip the rope another minute longer. Finally, the priest moves on, satisfied with whatever he was checking. The foreman returns his attention to the crew, shouting encouragement or threats depending on his mood. Today it's threats, warnings about reduced rations, about punishment details, about disappointing the God King. These threats are effective because they're real. The foreman has the power to make your already miserable life even worse, and he's not hesitant to use that power. The stone reaches a particularly difficult section, a place where the ramp narrows and the angle steepens simultaneously. This is a bottleneck, a place where progress slows to a crawl, where every inch requires maximum effort from every man. The foreman calls for additional workers, and they come running, grabbing the rope wherever they can find space, adding their strength to yours. Now there are 40 men on this rope, maybe 50, all pulling together, all straining, the rope stretching under the combined force. The stone moves barely, infinitesimally. You pull harder, feeling something in your back pop, a sharp pain that makes you gasp. You don't stop though. Can't stop. Stopping would mean letting down your crew, would mean the stone sliding backward, potentially crushing someone. So you pull through the pain, feeling whatever you injured protest with each movement, knowing you're making it worse but having no choice. Someone does collapse. One of the men farther down the rope. He just drops, unconscious before he hits the ground. The crew continues pulling. They have to. Stopping now would be disaster. Other workers reach over to drag the unconscious man clear, pouring water on his face, slapping his cheeks, trying to revive him. You don't know if they succeed. You can't afford to look back. You just keep pulling, keep moving the stone. Water comes around, distributed by young boys who haven't yet graduated to stone pulling duty. You drink greedily, the warm water tasting like life itself, like the difference between surviving and dying. It's never enough though. You could drink 10 times this amount and still be thirsty. But water is rationed carefully, distributed fairly among hundreds of workers. You get your share and no more, regardless of how desperate your thirst. You lie there during the break, staring up at the impossibly blue sky, thinking about nothing and everything simultaneously. Your mind drifts to your childhood, before the pyramid, when life seemed to hold possibilities, when the future wasn't just an endless repetition of pain. You remember playing in the Nile, swimming in the cool water, catching fish with your hands. That child seems like a different person now. Someone who existed in a different lifetime. Someone who had no concept of what adulthood would bring. The break ends, as breaks always do, too soon, never long enough. The foreman's voice cuts through your reverie, harsh and demanding, ordering everyone back to work. You struggle to your feet, your injured back, sending sharp pains up your spine. You try to hide the limp, try to move normally, but the foreman notices everything. He marks something on his papyrus, probably noting your injury, probably deciding whether you're still useful or need to be replaced. Back to the rope, back to the pulling. The stone is 3/4 of the way to its destination now. Just a little more to go, though that little bit feels like an impossible distance given your current state. You wrap the rope around your hands, ignoring the fresh blood, ignoring the pain, ignoring everything except the need to keep moving. The foreman raises his arm. You prepare yourself. He drops his arm. You pull. The afternoon stretches on endlessly, each moment feeling like an hour, time moving at a crawl when you're suffering. The heat is oppressive, the air thick and hard to breathe, dust hanging in it from all the construction work. You can taste the dust, feel it coating your lungs, mixing with sweat to form a gritty paste on your skin. Everything is dust and sand and heat, an environment hostile to human life. Yet here you are, living in it, working in it, slowly dying in it. The stone finally reaches its destination, that specific spot on the pyramid where it's meant to rest for eternity. The masons rush in with their tools, checking alignment, making minute adjustments, ensuring perfection. You let go of the rope, your hands frozen in their curved position, cramped from hours of gripping. Blood drips from your palms onto the sand, dark droplets disappearing into the thirsty ground. The foreman inspects the work, walks around the stone, checks it against his plans. He seems satisfied, makes his marks on the papyrus, officially records the completion. One more stone placed. One more small contribution to this massive monument. You should feel pride, you suppose a sense of accomplishment, but you feel nothing, just exhaustion and pain and the knowledge that tomorrow brings another stone. Another day of suffering. The sun is lower now, beginning its descent toward the horizon. Just a few more hours until the workday ends, until you can return to the village, until you can rest. Those hours feel impossibly long though, stretching ahead like a desert with no oasis in sight. You have other tasks now, the clean-up work, moving equipment, preparing for tomorrow. These tasks are easier than stone pulling, but still require movement, still require functioning despite your injuries. You notice other workers watching you, seeing how you move, how you favour your injured back. There's sympathy in their eyes, but also a calculation. They're wondering how long until you can't work anymore. How long until you join the ranks of the broken men who can no longer contribute. In this world, you're only as valuable as your ability to work. Once that's gone, you become a burden, a mouth to feed with no productivity to justify the cost. The thought terrifies you more than the pain does. The idea of being useless, of being unable to provide for your family. What happens to workers who can no longer work? Where do they go? How do they survive? You've seen some of them begging near the temple. Former pyramid workers now reduced to asking for scraps. You've seen others who simply disappear, presumably dying quietly somewhere, their bodies probably not even properly buried. You push these thoughts away, focusing on the immediate tasks. Move this rope here, carry that tool there, help load sleds for tomorrow's stones. Keep moving, keep working, keep proving your value. Your back screams with every movement. That injury you sustained earlier today making itself known with each bend, each twist. You grit your teeth, bear the pain. Tell yourself you can handle this. You've handled worse. You'll survive, finally, blessedly. The sun touches the western horizon and the foreman calls an end to the workday. The words wash over you like cool water, bringing immediate relief even though you're still standing here, still technically working. Knowing the end has arrived makes the present moment bearable, makes the last few tasks seem manageable. You join the mass exodus from the work site, hundreds of workers streaming back toward the village like a human river. Everyone moves slowly, carefully, bodies worn down by the day's labour. The conversations are minimal. People too tired for talk, too depleted for social niceties. You just walk, one foot in front of the other, focusing on the simple act of moving forward, of covering distance, of getting home. The village gates appear ahead, those familiar mudbrick walls that mark the boundary of your world. Guards stand watch as always, though you're not sure what they're guarding against. It's not like any of you have the energy to cause trouble, to rebel, to do anything except work and sleep and work again. Maybe they're there to keep people in rather than keep threats out, making sure no one tries to escape this life of servitude. You pass through the gates, into the familiar maze of narrow streets and identical houses. Children are playing despite the heat, their voices shrill and cheerful, oblivious to the suffering of their fathers. Women gather in small groups, talking, sharing news, supporting each other. The village has its own life, its own rhythms separate from the pyramid work. And returning here is like entering a different world, however briefly. Your house is ahead, that small mud brick structure that represents shelter and rest. You push aside the reed door covering and step inside, the dim interior a welcome relief from the harsh sunlight. Your wife looks up from her cooking, sees your face, sees how you're moving, and immediately comes over to you. She doesn't ask questions, doesn't need explanations. She just guides you to sit down, brings you water, begins her nightly ritual of tending to your injuries. She unwraps your hands, cleaning away the dried blood, examining the cuts. Some are deep, some are infected, all are painful. She applies her honey paste, wraps them in clean cloth torn from old garments. Then she moves to your back as you remove your kilt, inspects where you felt that pop earlier. Her fingers probe gently. An even gentle pressure makes you wince. She makes a worried sound, tells you it's swollen, possibly serious, that you need to be careful not to make it worse. But how can you be careful, you ask her, when tomorrow brings the same work and the same strain, the same demands? She has no answer to this, because there is no answer. You must work. Therefore, you must risk further injury. There's no alternative, no choice. She can only treat the symptoms, not address the cause. And both of you know this. Both of you live with this reality. Dinner is ready, the eternal lentil stew, the gritty bread. You eat slowly, each swallow an effort. Your body's so exhausted that even eating feels like work. Your children watch you with wide eyes, or the oldest one old enough now to understand that something is wrong, that father is hurt, that this is what awaits him in a few years. You try to smile, to reassure him, but you're not sure you succeed. After dinner, you don't go outside to socialize. Your back hurts too much. You're too tired, too depleted. You just lie down on your sleeping mat, staring up at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the village around you. Your wife lies down beside you, her hand finding yours, squeezing gently. This small gesture of comfort brings tears to your eyes. Unexpected emotion welling up, the weight of everything suddenly too much to bear. You think about tomorrow, about the stone that will be waiting, about the rope that will tear new wounds in your hands. You think about your injured back, about whether it will hold up, about what happens if it doesn't. You think about your children, about the future that awaits them, about whether this endless cycle of suffering can ever be broken. These thoughts circle endlessly, offering no comfort, no solutions, just an honest assessment of a harsh reality. Sleep is a long time coming tonight. Your back too painful to find a comfortable position. You shift and adjust, trying different angles, but nothing helps much. Your wife moves with you, trying to support you, to ease your discomfort, but there's only so much she can do. The injury is internal, structural, the kind of damage that doesn't heal quickly or easily, especially when you're going to strain it again tomorrow. You finally drift off around midnight. Exhaustion, overcoming pain, your body simply shutting down from sheer depletion. Your dreams are dark and troubled, filled with images of stones crushing you, of your back breaking completely, of being unable to work and watching your family starve. These nightmares feel more real than dreams, more like prophecies than fantasies, because they're all entirely possible outcomes, plausible futures that could happen at any moment. You wake before dawn as always, the pre-morning darkness pressing down like a physical weight. Your back has stiffened overnight, the injury worse now than it was yesterday. Moving is agony. Standing up requires a monumental effort. Each vertebra protesting as you force yourself upright. This is bad. You know this is bad. But what choice do you have except to continue? Your wife watches you struggle to stand, worry clear on her face. She suggests you report to the physician, the man who treats serious injuries among the workers. But you both know what that means, being evaluated, possibly being declared unfit for work, losing your position, your income, your family's survival. Better to push through, to work injured, to risk permanent damage rather than face immediate destitution. Breakfast is the same as always, bread and beer, fuel for another day of suffering. You eat without appetite, your stomach churning with anxiety about how you'll manage today's work with this injury. Each bite of bread feels like choking down sand, each sip of beer tastes like despair. But you consume it all because your body needs the calories, needs the energy, regardless of how you feel about it. Outside, the village is stirring, the same morning routine playing out in every house, men emerging, women preparing food, children slowly waking. The normalcy of it all is almost surreal given your current state. Everyone else continuing their lives while you're falling apart. But that's how it works, isn't it? Yeah. Individual suffering matters little. The collective keeps moving regardless of who breaks along the way. You join the morning procession to the pyramid site, walking more slowly than usual, falling behind the main group. Each step sends pain shooting up your spine, your injured back protesting every movement. Other workers notice. Some offer sympathetic glances, others look away, not wanting to acknowledge your weakness, perhaps afraid that showing concern might somehow make them vulnerable too. The pyramid looms ahead, that massive structure that's become both your purpose and your prison. In the growing dawn light, it looks almost beautiful. Its geometric perfection a testament to human achievement. But you know the cost of that beauty. Know it's built on broken backs and bloody hands. Know that every stone represents suffering. The priests call it eternal, call it divine, but to you it's just a monument to pain. You reach the worksite and find your crew. Taking your position among them despite your injury, the foreman notices immediately, sees how you're moving, how you're favouring your back. He approaches, asks if you can work, his tone making it clear that the wrong answer has consequences. You lie, tell him you're fine, just a little stiff, nothing serious. He eyes you skeptically but doesn't press further. There's too much work to do, too many stones to move. Today's stone is waiting. Another massive block, identical to yesterday's, to the day before's, to every stone you've ever moved. The sight of it makes your stomach drop, knowing what's ahead, knowing you'll have to pull that rope with your injured back, knowing the pain that's coming. But you take your position anyway, wrap the rope around your bandaged hands, prepare yourself mentally for what's ahead. The foreman raises his arm, the familiar signal. You take a breath, trying to brace your core, trying to protect your injured back. He drops his thumb. Everyone pulls. The pain is immediate and intense. Your back goes screaming us in protest. That injured area feeling like it's tearing apart. You nearly let go, nearly drop the rope, but somehow you hold on, and somehow you keep pulling despite the agony. The stone moves. The crew falls into rhythm. Pull and rest. Pull and rest. Each pull is torture. Each movement sends fresh waves of pain through your body. Your vision blurs. Sweat pours down your face. So you can taste blood where you've bitten your lip, trying not to cry out. This is worse than anything you've experienced before. This is a new level of suffering, and you're not sure how long you can sustain it. Hours pass in a haze of pain. The stone slowly climbing the ramp, your body barely holding together. You're running on pure survival instinct now, your conscious mind barely functioning. Just automated responses keeping you moving, keeping you pulling, around you. The other workers continue their tasks. The pyramid continues its slow growth. The world continues turning while you're dying inside. The physician's verdict is predictable. You need rest, several weeks at minimum, possibly longer. The injury is severe. Continuing to work will make it permanent. Could leave you crippled for life. He can provide some herbal remedies for pain, some poultices to reduce swelling, but the real treatment is rest. Time for healing. You ask what happens to your position, to your family's rations, and his expression tells you everything you need to know even before he speaks. Workers who can't work don't receive full rations. The system is simple and brutal. You'll get a reduced amount, barely enough to survive, certainly not enough to feed a family. Your wife will need to find work. Your children will need to contribute however they can, and you'll need to hope that you heal quickly enough to return before the situation becomes desperate. This is the reality of injury. This is what happens when you break. The safety net is minimal at best. The foreman is summoned, informed of the situation. He's not sympathetic, not cruel exactly, just matter of fact. You're being reassigned to light duties. Tasks that don't require pulling or heavy lifting, sorting tools, distributing water, supervising children who carry messages. These jobs pay less, provide smaller rations, but they're better than nothing. You accept gratefully, knowing it could be worse, knowing some workers with serious injuries are simply discarded. The rest of the day is spent in this reduced capacity, sitting in shade. directing younger workers, trying not to move too much. It's humiliating in a way, seeing your crew continue pulling that stone without you, realizing you're no longer essential, easily replaced. Another man has taken your position on the rope. The work continues uninterrupted. The pyramid doesn't notice your absence. You are, despite years of service, fundamentally replaceable. Evening arrives, and you walk back to the village slowly, carefully, each step deliberate. The reduced work was easier physically, but harder mentally, forcing you to confront your vulnerability, your expendability. You pass other workers. Some offer words of encouragement, others avoid eye contact, perhaps seeing in you their own potential future. Injury is always lurking, always possible, always threatening to transform a functioning worker into a burden. Your wife is waiting at the house. She heard about the injury through village gossip. News travels fast in this small community. She doesn't scold you for continuing to work yesterday despite the pain, doesn't say the obvious things about needing to be more careful. She just helps you inside, helps you lie down on your mat, brings you food and water. Her practical support is more valuable than sympathy. You need someone who can handle the reality of the situation, not someone who will panic or despair. The children are quieter tonight, sensing the seriousness, understanding that something has changed. Your oldest son asks if you'll be okay, if you'll be able to go back to pulling stones. You tell him yes, tell him you'll heal, though you're not entirely sure that's true. The physician was vague about timelines, about full recovery. Those words like possibly and might, suggesting uncertainty, suggesting that permanent damage is a real possibility. Dinner is smaller tonight, the reduced rations already taking effect, the stew is thinner, more water than lentils, the bread portion's smaller, everyone eats slowly, trying to make it last, trying to feel satisfied despite eating less. This is what the coming weeks will look like, this gradual tightening of belts, this slow approach to the edge of hunger. You'll need to heal quickly, need to return to full work before the situation deteriorates further. After dinner, you lie on your mat, unable to participate in evening socializing even if you wanted to. Your back throbs with a deep, persistent ache, the kind of pain that suggests long-term damage rather than temporary injury. You think about other workers you've seen with permanent back problems, how they walk hunched over, how they can never stand fully straight again. Is that your future now? Are you destined to join their ranks, the broken men who serve as cautionary tales? Your wife sits beside you, working on some mending by the fading light. The domestic normalcy is comforting, watching her perform these simple tasks, maintaining the household despite the crisis. She's stronger than you in many ways, more adaptable, more capable of continuing when circumstances change. You feel grateful for her, grateful that she's not the type to fall apart when things get difficult. Night falls, and with it comes the usual sounds of the village, families settling in, children being put to bed, the occasional conversation drifting through the thin walls. You lie there listening, thinking about tomorrow, about the coming weeks. The light duties will be boring, tedious, but at least they won't destroy you further. You'll have time to heal, time to let your back recover, assuming it can recover, assuming the damage isn't permanent. Sleep comes easier tonight. The reduced physical exertion means less exhaustion, but also less pain-induced wakefulness. Your dreams are still troubled, still filled with anxiety about the future, but they're less intense, less visceral. Your body is grateful for the break from stone pulling, even if your mind is anxious about the consequences. The following days establish a new routine, one centered around your injury and recovery. You wake each morning, assess the pain level, determine whether it's better or worse than yesterday. Progress is slow, incremental. Some days your back feels slightly improved, other days it seems to have regressed. The healing process is not linear, not predictable, and this uncertainty gnaws at you constantly. Your light duty assignments vary. Sometimes you're distributing water to the stone-pulling crews. Sometimes you're organizing tools, Sometimes you're simply sitting and observing, making sure the younger workers complete their tasks. It's mind-numbing work compared to the physical intensity of stone pulling, and you find yourself almost missing the rope, the immediate challenge of moving massive weights. At least that work had a clear purpose, a visible result. These light duties feel meaningless by comparison. You watch your former crew pulling stones without you. See the new man who's taken your position on the rope. He's younger, stronger, not yet broken by years of this work. He pulls with enthusiasm you barely remember having, throws his whole body into it without the wariness that comes from experience. You know his enthusiasm will fade. Know he'll learn to pace himself. Know eventually he'll end up injured like you. But for now, he represents what you used to be, what you've lost. The reduced rations are taking their toll on your family. Everyone is losing weight, becoming leaner, harder. Your wife has found some additional work, helping with cooking in the communal kitchens, which provides a small supplement to your income. Your oldest son has started running messages for the foremen, earning tiny amounts of bread and beer. Even your younger children contribute by gathering sticks for fuel, by helping with small tasks. The whole family has mobilized to compensate for your reduced earning capacity. Weeks pass in this diminished state, your back slowly improving but not healing completely. You can move more easily now. The sharp pain has faded to a dull ache, but you're not back to full strength. The physician examines you periodically, checking your progress, and each time his assessment is cautiously optimistic but non-committal. Maybe another few weeks, maybe you'll be ready soon, maybe the injury will never fully heal. That word maybe dominates every conversation about your future. You notice changes in how people treat you, subtle shifts in their interactions. The foremen are less respectful, knowing your damaged goods, possibly permanently reduced in capability. Other workers are sympathetic but also distant, perhaps afraid that associating with you might somehow taint them, mark them as vulnerable. Only a few friends remain consistently supportive, checking on you regularly, sharing food when they can spare it, offering encouragement that may or may not be genuine. The pyramid continues growing during your absence, new levels being added, the structure climbing slowly toward its eventual height. You watch this progress from your diminished position, feeling simultaneously proud and resentful. Proud because you contributed to this. Your years of work are embedded in those lower levels. You're part of something that will last forever. Resentful because the pyramid took so much from you, broke your body, reduced you to this lesser estate, and continues without caring, without acknowledging your sacrifice. Your children's future weighs heavily on your mind during these weeks of reduced work. Your oldest son is approaching the age where he'll join the workforce, and you know what awaits him, the same brutal labour that destroyed you. You want to warn him, to prepare him, but what can you say? Don't work too hard, don't injure yourself, but also work hard enough to earn your keep, to avoid punishment. The contradictions are impossible to reconcile. There's no safe path through this life, only degrees of danger. One evening, during a village gathering, someone asked about your plans. Will you return to stone pulling? Will you continue with light duties? Will you seek other work? You don't have good answers. Your future is uncertain, dependent on how your back heals, and whether the foreman will take you back at full capacity. The honest answer is that you don't know. You're floating in limbo, neither fully functional nor completely broken, existing in this grey zone between productivity and disability. The nights are the hardest, and when you lie awake thinking about everything that's changed, everything that's been lost. You used to be a strong worker, respected for your endurance, relied upon by your crew. Now you're diminished, uncertain, possibly permanently damaged. This transformation happened so quickly. One injury, one moment of your back giving out, and suddenly your entire life trajectory shifted. It's frightening how fragile your position is. how quickly capability can transform into disability. After 6 weeks of light duty, the physician finally clears you to attempt stone pulling again, with warnings to be careful, to stop immediately if the pain returns. You're simultaneously relieved and terrified. Relieved to potentially return to full wages, terrified that you'll re-injure yourself immediately. The morning you're scheduled to rejoin your crew, you wake with a knot of anxiety in your stomach, unsure whether your body can handle what's ahead. Your crew greets you with cautious welcome, glad to have you back but clearly uncertain about your capability. The new man who replaced you has been reassigned, and you're taking your old position on the rope. It feels familiar and strange simultaneously. The rope rough against your hands, the stone massive and imposing ahead of you. The foreman explains today's task, and you listen with half your attention, your mind focused on your back, on whether it will hold up. The signal comes, you pull, and immediately you feel the strain in your back, that injured area protesting the load. It's not the sharp agony of before, but it's not comfortable either. A warning sensation that tells you you're pushing your limits. You continue pulling, settling into the rhythm, and gradually your back adjusts. The muscles remembering how to distribute the load, how to work together to move massive weight. The morning passes in this state of cautious optimism, your back holding up better than you feared, but not as well as you hoped. You're slower than you used to be, more careful, more protective of your injury. The other workers notice, adjusting their efforts to compensate, pulling slightly harder to make up for your reduced capacity. You're grateful for this unspoken support, for their willingness to carry a bit more weight so you can continue functioning. By midday, your back is screaming at you. Not the sharp pain of injury, but the deep ache of overworked muscles. The break comes as a relief, and you collapse in the shade, panting, your shirt soaked with sweat. The physician appears, checking on you, asking how you're managing. You lie slightly, tell him it's fine, manageable, when really you're barely holding together. But admitting weakness means returning to light duty, means reduced rations, means your family going hungry. The afternoon is harder than the morning, your body depleted, your back approaching its limits. Each pull requires more conscious effort, more mental pushing through discomfort. You're counting down the hours, the minutes, desperate for the workday to end. Your crew senses your struggle. They have been working together long enough to read each other's states, and they adjust again, taking on even more of the load. Finally, the sun begins its descent and the foreman calls an end to the day. You've made it through. One full day of stone pulling after your injury, and your back hasn't given out. It hurts terribly. It's strained and exhausted, but it held. This counts as victory. This is what success looks like now. Surviving a day without permanent damage. The bar has been lowered, your expectations reduced, but you met them. Walking back to the village is an ordeal. Every step jarring your spine, sending fresh waves of pain through your core. But you walk, you keep moving, because stopping would mean admitting defeat, would mean acknowledging that maybe you can't do this anymore. Other workers pass you, moving fair, less injured, and you feel the gap between you and them widening. You're falling behind, becoming one of the slower ones, the weaker ones, the ones who won't last much longer. Your wife sees your face when you arrive home and knows immediately that it was difficult, that you're in pain. She helps you inside, helps you sit, and begins preparing the poultices and remedies that will help you recover enough to do it all again tomorrow. This will be the new routine, working to your limits, breaking down each day, being patched back together each night, then repeating the cycle. Dinner tonight is slightly better. The return to full rations means more food, and everyone eats with visible relief. Your children's faces have regained some colour, some life. The weeks of reduced food had been taking a toll. You watch them eat and feel the weight of responsibility, knowing that tomorrow you'll need to pull stones again, to push through pain again. because their well-being depends on your continued functionality. After dinner, you sit outside for a while, too tired for socializing but needing air, needing space. The stars are brilliant overhead, the desert sky clear and vast. You think about the pyramid, about the years of work still ahead, about whether your body can sustain this for that long. The honest answer is probably not. Most workers don't last until completion. Their bodies give out before the pyramid's finished. But you push these thoughts away, focusing instead on tomorrow, on surviving one more day, on making it through one more stone. That's all you can do. Take it day by day, moment by moment, pull by pull. The long-term future is too daunting, too depressing. Better to just focus on the immediate, on what's directly ahead. Months pass in this new reality, your body never fully recovering but adapting, learning to function despite permanent damage. Your back will never be what it was. The physician has told you this plainly. You'll always have limitations, always have pain, but you've learned to work around it, to compensate, to continue pulling stones despite everything. This is survival. This is what it takes to keep your family fed. You notice changes in yourself beyond the physical, mental shifts that come from years of this work. You're harder now, less empathetic, more focused on simple survival. You see new workers arrive full of hope or fear, and you feel nothing, knowing that hope will be crushed, fear will be justified. You've become what you once pitied, a broken man going through motions, existing rather than living. The pyramid has grown significantly during your time here. Levels upon levels of precisely placed stones, the structure now towering over the plateau. Sometimes you climb to higher sections, helping place stones near the top. And from that vantage point you can see the entire construction site, the massive scale of what's being built. It's impressive in a way, undeniably impressive, but you can't separate the beauty from the cost, can't look at those stones without seeing the suffering they represent. Your oldest son has joined the workforce now, 14 years old and already pulling ropes, already learning what this life entails. You watch him work and feel conflicting emotions, pride that he's strong enough and capable enough, but also deep sadness knowing what awaits him. He'll be broken like you were broken, damaged like you were damaged, and there's nothing you can do to prevent it. This is the cycle. Fathers and sons both destroyed by the same work, generation after generation. He looks up to you though, sees you as experienced, knowledgeable, someone who survived and continues surviving. He asks for advice and for tips on how to pull more efficiently, how to avoid injury. You share what you've learned, the hard lessons earned through pain and damage, hoping it will help him, knowing it probably won't. Some lessons can only be learned through experience, through suffering, through your own body breaking down. The village has become more familiar over the years, less a temporary stop and more your permanent home. You know everyone now, have watched children grow up, have attended funerals for workers who didn't survive. There's a cemetery just outside the village walls, rows of simple graves marked with stones, the final resting place for pyramid builders. You've stood over too many of those graves, said goodbye to too many friends. One evening, someone asks if you think the pyramid will ever be finished, if you'll live to see its completion. The question sparks debate, people offering different estimates, different timelines. Some say another 10 years, others say 20. Few pessimists suggest it might never be truly complete. You don't participate in this speculation. You've learned not to think too far ahead. The present is difficult enough, without worrying about distant futures. The conversation shifts to what happens after. Assuming the pyramid is completed, assuming Pharaoh Khufu eventually dies and is entombed inside, will there be another pyramid, another project, another god king demanding monuments? Or will the workers be released, allowed to return to their villages, to resume normal lives. Nobody knows, and the uncertainty is unsettling. The possibility that this might not end, that you might move from one pyramid to the next, building tombs until you die. Someone mentions rumours about workers receiving special burial rites, about being interred near the pyramid, about having your name recorded for eternity. But these rumours are vague, unconfirmed, probably wishful thinking. More likely, you'll end up in that workers' cemetery, a nameless grave among hundreds, forgotten within a generation. Your contribution to something eternal won't earn you eternity, won't spare you from obscurity. You think about legacy, about what you'll leave behind. The pyramid will stand for thousands of years, that seems certain. Its massive stones too heavy to be easily moved or destroyed. Future generations will see it and wonder how it was built, will develop theories and stories, but that they won't know you, won't know your name, won't know about the specific stones you moved or the specific pain you endured. You're anonymous, replaceable, one of thousands who contributed but will never be credited. This anonymity bothers you more than it should. This idea of suffering without recognition, of sacrificing without acknowledgement. The pharaoh will be remembered, his name carved in stone, his deeds recorded in hieroglyphs, his burial goods proclaiming his importance for eternity. But you get nothing. No memorial, no recognition. Just the simple fact of having existed and worked and died. Your wife notices your dark mood, asks what you're thinking about. You share some of these thoughts about legacy and memory and the unfairness of it all. She listens quietly, then points out that your children will remember you, that your grandchildren will hear stories about you, that your family is your legacy. It's a kind thought, meant to comfort, but you both know that family memory only lasts a few generations. After that, you're as forgotten as if you never existed. The night deepens, the village gradually quieting as people retreat to their homes, to their sleeping mats, to whatever rest they can find before tomorrow's work begins again. You sit a while longer, staring at the pyramid's silhouette against the star-filled sky. That massive structure that's consumed so many years of your life, so much of your health, so much of your very being. It's beautiful in the darkness, imposing and eternal, and you hate it and love it simultaneously, bound to it by years of labour, unable to separate yourself from what it represents. Years continue passing, the pyramid growing taller, your body growing weaker, the cycle of work and pain repeating endlessly. You're in your late 30s now, ancient by worker standards, one of the few who've lasted this long. Your back is permanently curved, your hands permanently scarred, your face weathered beyond your years. You look like an old man and you move like an old man, though technically you're still relatively young. The younger workers look at you with a mixture of respect and pity. Respect for your endurance, pity for what you've become. You represent both inspiration and warning. Proof that survival is possible, but also demonstration of the cost. Your son is fully integrated into the workforce now, pulling stones alongside you, and sometimes you work on the same crew, father and son building together, suffering together. One morning, you wake and realize something has changed. Something fundamental has shifted in your body. The pain is different now, deeper, more ominous, your back feeling like it might simply collapse, like the structure that's held you together all these years is finally giving way. You try to stand and nearly fall, your legs weak, your balance uncertain. Your wife sees this and immediately knows this is serious, this might be the end. The physician examines you and confirms what you already suspected. Your body is failing. The years of abuse have accumulated into something critical. He can't be specific about timelines, but he makes it clear you don't have long, maybe months, maybe weeks. Your spine is essentially destroyed. your internal organs compressed, your overall health severely compromised, the recommendation is rest, comfort, preparation for the inevitable. You ask about work, about providing for your family, and the physician just shakes his head. Your working days are over. You've given everything you had. There's nothing left to give. Your son will need to support the family now, to take on the burden you carried for so many years. This transition happens naturally, inevitably, each generation replacing the previous one, the cycle continuing regardless of individual circumstances. The foreman is informed. Your position officially terminated. Your name removed from the work rolls. There's no ceremony, no recognition of your years of service, just administrative notation that you're no longer functional. Another worker will take your place on the rope. The pyramid will continue rising. The world will continue turning. You are, in the end, completely replaceable. Your individual contribution meaningful to you but irrelevant to the larger project. Your final weeks are spent in the village, no longer walking to the pyramid site each morning, no longer pulling stones, no longer participating in the work that defined your adult life. You sit outside your house, watching others head to work, watching the pyramid grow without you. It's strange being excluded from this. Strange having your days suddenly empty. Strange confronting mortality so directly. Neighbours visit, bringing small offerings of food, sharing memories of working together, offering comfort in the way pyramid workers do. Practical and unsentimental. They don't pretend you're going to recover, don't offer false hope. They just acknowledge the reality and provide what small support they can. This honesty is more comforting than platitudes would be. This straightforward acceptance of death as part of the process. Your children gather around more frequently now, understanding that time is limited, wanting to be present. Your oldest son comes home each evening exhausted and injured, and you see yourself in him, see the same trajectory, the same future of pain and damage. You want to tell him to stop, to run away, to find another life. But what would be the point? This is the world he was born into. This is the reality he must navigate. One evening, as the sun sets and paints the pyramid in shades of gold and orange, you ask your wife to help you outside one last time. You want to see it, the structure you helped build, the monument that consumed your life. She supports you as you walk slowly to a vantage point where you can see the pyramid clearly. That massive structure rising from the plateau, its form perfect and eternal. Looking at it now, from this perspective of ending, you feel conflicting emotions washing over you. Pride that you contributed to something so massive, so permanent, something that will outlast everyone you've ever known. Anger at what it cost, at how it consumed you, at the suffering it required, sadness for what you've lost, the health you'll never recover, the years you'll never have, and finally a strange acceptance, a recognition that this was your life, for better or worse. This was what you did, who you were. The pyramid doesn't care about these feelings. It just exists, massive and indifferent, a testament to human achievement and human suffering simultaneously. Thousands of men like you built it. Thousands more will maintain it, and eventually it's in some distant future. People will look at it and wonder how such a thing was possible. They'll develop theories about ramps and levers and workforce organization. They'll calculate angles and weights and engineering solutions. But what they won't understand, what they can't understand from looking at stones, is what it felt like to be you. To pull those ropes, to feel your body breaking, to sacrifice everything for something that will never acknowledge your sacrifice. They'll see the result without understanding the process, admire the achievement without recognizing the costs. The pyramid will be called a wonder, a marvel, a testament to ancient ingenuity, and all of that will be true, but it will also be incomplete. Because the real story isn't just about stones and geometry and architectural genius. It's about people like you, ordinary humans who bled and broke and died to create something extraordinary. The pyramid is made of limestone blocks, yes, but it's also made of pain and sweat and suffering, made of damaged spines and scarred hands and shortened lives. This cost is invisible in the finished structure, erased by time and distance, but it was real, it mattered, it deserves to be remembered. You stand there as darkness falls, supported by your wife, looking at the pyramid one last time. Your son returns from work and joins you, 3 generations standing together, past, present and future. The pyramid rises before you, eternal and immutable, and you realise that despite everything, despite all the suffering, you're part of it now, literally built into its structure, your effort permanently embedded in those lower levels. When you die, which will be soon, you won't be buried inside the pyramid. That's only for the pharaoh. You'll be placed in the workers' cemetery, a simple grave marked with a stone. Your name perhaps recorded, perhaps not. But thousands of years from now, when people stand before this pyramid and marvel at its construction, when now they wonder how ancient humans achieved such engineering feats, they'll be standing on your work, on your sacrifice, on your life. They won't know you, but you'll be there, in every stone you placed, every rope you pulled, every drop of blood you left in the sand. Now, as you read this, as you lie in your comfortable bed with your soft pillows and climate control, as you consider the life of a pyramid worker, take a moment to appreciate the contrast. Your back doesn't hurt from labour. Your hands aren't torn by ropes. Your future isn't measured in which injury will finally break you. You live in a world where this kind of suffering is largely historical, where worker protections exist, where individual lives hold value beyond their productive capacity. The pyramid still stands in Egypt. You can visit it. You can touch those stones. You can walk around its base and marvel at its scale. But when you do, remember the men who built it, the anonymous thousands who gave their bodies and lives to create something eternal. They worked before worker rights, before safety regulations, before the idea that labour should be compensated fairly, or that humans deserve protection from exploitation. They are long dead now, their bones dust, their names forgotten, but their work remains, testament to both human achievement and human suffering, both the best and worst of what humans can create together. So rest now, in your soft bed, in your safe world, grateful for the progress that separates your life from theirs. Grateful that you don't have to wake before dawn to pull stones. Grateful that your value isn't measured purely by your physical capacity. Close your eyes, let sleep come easily, let comfort surround you. And remember, if only for a moment, those who built wonders at impossible cost, those who suffered in service of eternity, those anonymous pyramid workers who deserve to be remembered, even if only in stories, even if only in dreams, even if only in moments like this when we pause to acknowledge what was sacrificed, what was endured, what was ultimately human about the creation of the supposedly divine. Good night.